Was I too negative on Tuesday night? Be honest with me. Was I too negative on Tuesday night? It's been something that's been whirring around my brain for the last sort of 24 hours. Once again, walked away from Canaries feeling deflated on Tuesday night. I mean, it's literally seconds away from picking up an incredibly valuable 3 points, and instead, last kick of the game, we walk away feeling absolutely deflated. And I think I tweeted at full time saying that looks like that's our set for League One, and I was pretty down on my match review. And look, this is a game of emotion. This is a game of feeling. This is a game of nuance. Ultimately, there are no right answers when you're a fan, and we're all very hypocritical as football fans. There will be some things that I really like that you guys don't, and some things that you really like that I can't see. How on earth you think that? That's the joy of football, right? This is a game of opinion. This is a game of interpretation. But I still walked away from Carrow Road feeling incredibly deflated. And ultimately, maybe that's a feeling that's been building up because I'm still yet to see my football club win at home this season. We are nearly in December. We have one more opportunity to try and win before December. That comes on Saturday, and that's, again, a massive game. But I was let down, and I was hurting after Tuesday night, and yes, there were parts of that performance against Oxford that gave me a degree of hope. There was a 20-minute period in that second half where Schwarzer had a chance, Sargent had a chance, Marcondes had a chance, and actually, to be fair to Schwarzer and Marcondes, yes, I'm sure they could have done a little bit better, but there were fantastic blocks on the line from Oxford players. So we were slightly unfortunate. Yes, of course, we could have done more. That game should have been out of sight, but they did create chances. They did look up for it. And, I thought Matsson's introduction was pretty inspired, and he looked good. I thought Rory McConville was absolutely excellent. And I'm really chuffed to see him kind of taking his opportunity by the scruff of the neck and really driving forward. And I think he's going to be a really big player under Philippe Clement. I thought Harry Darling looked much better. Look, there were loads of positives, and Jovan Makama continues to impress. But once again, we haven't won a game of football. And the argument from some will be, well, Jack, we've still got 20 games left of this season. More than 20 games, right? 25 games, however many. My argument would be, yeah, but we're 17 games in. We are 17 games into a championship season, and we still look completely unable to see out a football game, to grind out a result. And I thought that was the big difference. On Tuesday night, you had two teams there, two very poor championship teams, in Oxford and in Norwich City. Oxford came, set up pretty defensively, 5 at the back. Sole kind of, I think, objective was to not lose that game. And they were very close to losing it, but Rowett set them up not to lose, try and nick something, set piece, late break, or take the lead and kind of sit onto it. Norwich are the opposite of that. I look back to Derby, I look back to Hull, I look back to this game. So many games in which they've created chances and been good at times and not taking them, and then found the opposite of winning, finding a way to lose the game. And that's my big fear here, is we've been dragged into a group of teams, Oxford, Portsmouth, Blackburn, Swansea, Sheffield United, who, maybe not so much Sheffield United, but they've started to kind of pick up, and that was always going to happen with the quality that they have. Maybe opposition fans will be saying the same about us, but I think we're in a slightly different situation. Those guys know how to grind out points. They're used to being in these types of positions. We're not, right? We are used to being, in this league, near the top end. And that's not me being snobbish. That's not me being entitled. That's the truth of the situation. We are not used to being in a relegation scrap in the Championship. Yes, we've done it in the Premier League. Again, very different situation. We've been dragged into a situation now where we don't have time. We don't have the ability to give work experience to certain people, right? We are in a very real and scary situation. So when I see my team draw, important point, draw from the last kick of the game, having been in a game against the side that are 1 place above you, 5 points above you, throw it away in that situation so late on, that hurts. And regardless of the performance or the chances we had or the improved performance from some players, we have still come up against a really poor Championship team at home and not won. And I think my viewpoint on Tuesday of saying, I think we're down, I'm really disappointed, it's nothing to do with Philippe Clement at all. I like him. I like what he said. I like what he's done. I like how he's handled the press. I think he's going to be a top-class head coach for us. I really do. And I wish we'd had him from the start of the season. And he knows the squad and he knows that he's here to firefight and he's done it before and he'll do it again. Good appointment. Well done to Ben Napper for bringing him in. I really am excited about Philippe Clement. My concern is bigger than that. All right, we had a situation on Tuesday night where Ben Napper's third most expensive signing, maybe second, of his tenure has lasted 10 minutes, a year and a half into us signing him, and he's been removed for not being fit enough. Huge red flag. You know, there's red flags everywhere you look with Matej Jurisic. So that's a wider recruitment issue. We've got a situation where we don't have a proper left-sided player, right? Ben Crescene, Lucien Mahovo, Jeffrey Schlupp, Papahamadou Diallo, all out injured, right? Again, not bad luck. That's on us. That's on us as a club. Recovery's not being good enough. Recruitment in terms of signing players that maybe aren't as susceptible to injury isn't good enough. Ben Napper said it. So we've got a situation where we're playing Kellen Fisher completely out of position, and he's been looking exposed because of it. And I don't think that's on Kellen. That's on him being played in a position that's not his. And Oscar Schwartau, that's basically played every minute of this season. He's 19 years old. He shouldn't be having to kind of carry the load. There should be other people there to help him. And that comes from years of layered on poor recruitment, poor recovery, people in positions that shouldn't be there. And ultimately that it gets to a point where it comes to a head and, you know, we're fielding sides that are really unbalanced and not fit for purpose, if I'm being brutally honest. So this wasn't a direct attack on the performance or some of the players or the outcome of Tuesday night. This was a frustration with the continued underperformance of Norwich City Football Club. A year ago today, or I don't know if it was a year ago today, about a year ago, we played Plymouth at home on a Tuesday night. I'd say Plymouth and Oxford, very similar standards in the Championship, right? Plymouth got relegated last season. I think Oxford will be there or thereabouts. Oxford, granted, a little bit more defensively sound and a little bit more streetwise to the Championship than Plymouth were. But still, like, we should be beating them at Carrow Road. And again, no disrespect to the Oxford fans, although I'm sure someone's been taken. We beat Plymouth 6-1 that night, a year ago. And Borja Science scored a hat-trick. Ante Cianat was starting to show promise. We had Anis Ben Sulemane score that night. I think Marcondes actually scored that night. Maybe not. And I look at the regression even in a year, and it's astounding. The bar of which we're basing an improved performance was so incredibly low, it couldn't get lower. That as long as we didn't lose on Tuesday, it would be deemed a positive spin. And actually, I thought for large parts of that game, Norwich were poor. They knocked it about slowly. There wasn't a huge amount of urgency. Yes, that changed in the second half. And yes, I think performances will start to improve under Philippe Clement. I think he's really starting to get his teeth into things. But I do fear the worst. I think we've got the best head coach that we could possibly get in terms of giving us an opportunity to get out of the bottom three. But we have to zoom out a little bit here and understand the standards that we're kind of holding people to. I keep looking at this Championship table. I cannot believe that we are 6 points adrift. 6 points adrift coming into December. This was a season that was talked about as being a failure if we weren't within the top 6. That came from the hierarchy of this football club. We're 6 points from safety, let alone being in the top 6. So I'm afraid, like, until we start to see a real turnaround, and maybe that comes, if we can stumble our way to January. And I think this Saturday will be another good litmus test, because I think QPR are a far better side than Oxford, and they'll come and test us and put us in some more difficult situations than Oxford did, and let's see how we handle that. But I can't take Tuesday and be happy about that. I'm sorry. I really can't. I wish I could. And yes, I loved seeing Jovan McCarmer score. I loved seeing Maatson going for big tackles. I loved Rory McConville's big-headed clearances. Right? And I like seeing Oscar Schwarzau try and, run the line, and I like him a lot. But we're in the bottom 3, and yes, there's a lot of games to go. But at this rate, we continue to lose ground. We're in a worse position now than we were going into Tuesday's game. We have to arrest this poor run of form immediately. Otherwise, we're going to be in a really, really difficult spot in January, and difficult conversations will be had. I think the positives are this: Philippe Clement's a good head coach, and he's the right man for this job at this current stage. We do have quality in this side. We're still in a situation where our entire left side is injured, and even getting Mahovo back or Crescene back will help performance levels. I think with Josh Sargent, once he scores 1, the goals will come. My worry is, if we're in the relegation zone come January, does he want out? Potentially, but let's have that conversation further down the line. Clement is demanding a level that I don't think Manning did, and if that goes under that level, you won't be involved. And I like that a lot. So there is things to cling on to, and there are things to be positive about. Absolutely. And look, I don't want this turning into us, me against you or you against me. Like, if the fans are split, game over. Done. Right? So we have to be together. But it's healthy to have different viewpoints, right? As I say, there will be things that you liked on Tuesday night that I hated, and things I looked at and went, oh, I like that. And you went, what? That's good. That's healthy. All I'm saying is, let's just zoom out a bit and see where our standards are. Because if we're walking away with a point against a real struggling Oxford United side and being happy with that, I'm kind of lost. Look, QPR, again, excited to be back, excited to get behind these lads, excited to get behind Philippe Clement, excited to see what team he goes with, and we'll have a preview out tomorrow for that. But things have to change, and change quickly. 6 points adrift. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.